Hello and welcome to the Amputee Angler, this week's weekly roundup. I'm Ben, if you're new here. Busy week. Firstly, if I look and sound like death, I've been in and out of hospital with my little boy this week, and I've picked up some sort of horrible flu thing. It has not me for six, absolutely not me for six. I went to bed at 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, and I only got out of bed at 10 o'clock this morning. It has really done me. Horrible cough, but I look like crap, but I'm here anyway. What a week, been a busy week. So we'll touch on my little boy in a minute as well, but we have been fishing, did do a bit of pollocking, 14 years blown up, we'll touch on that in a minute as well. And we've also had to sadly deal with a very jealous, bitter local YouTuber who doesn't like being outworked. And I was only an hour about going all in on that this week, on this week's video. But I'm going to rise above it and be the bigger man. And I'm not gonna. If you're local, you'll know what's going on there. But focus on your own fishing and worry about why your own channel's dying, and not about other people's channels, is what I will say on that. And that's all I will say on that. But 14 years blown up. Put a nice post up the other day. Obviously, if you've been around for a while, the pictures on Facebook and YouTube communities, you're going to have seen them previously. But as I said in my Facebook post, I'm not getting blown up again to get you some fresh pictures. But lots of nice comments and that on those, and I haven't yet got around to answering those. But not to be cliche, like 14 years, that time has flown by. It really has absolutely gone. I was in the army for 7 years, and it was another 2 years before I was discharged. So I call it 9. But yeah, I've now been injured a lot longer than what my actual career was, which is a little bit mind-blowing for me, but lots of nice support, and it's always a funny time of year. Weirdly, I always get ill this time of year. When that anniversary's coming around, I don't know if it's a psychological thing or what, but I always seem to get ill. I'm really bad about it with my mental health. If I'm suffering mentally or something's triggering me, I tend to get, I don't know why, I get ill. But yeah, that's that. So 14 years. So thanks for all your nice words and comments on that. And we've done a little bit of fishing as well. We got out last week, went pollocking, wrecking. And then the weather was horrendous. It was horrible. It was a 1.4 metre, no wind all day, or a little bit of wind. And then it was calming away, but really bad swell. And I was going out at the same time as Deep Blue and Dawn Tide charter boats, and they must be looking at me thinking, what is this guy doing? We were out the water a lot. It was horrible, but we cracked on. Really tough session to start with. We had a horrible swell, like it was 1.4 1.6 metre swell. It was horrible. And then we had a south-north drift, which isn't ideal. But we struggled. I think we only had 3 fish on till early part of the afternoon. And then we had decided that we were going to try some new wrecks today, or for this particular day. Because if you hammer the same wrecks, and unfortunately there are boats that go to the same wrecks every time, you just fish them out. And you might nick some nice fish off of them one day, and you'll go back the next day and you've simply had it all. Especially, and this is not a dig at charter boats, but if I'm on my own, I've got one lure down there, I can nick fish off. You know, if there's 20 fish on there, I've got 20 fish to play with. If you've got 8 lures down on a charter boat, and there's 20 fish there, it doesn't take long to clear that wreck out, you know. So I try and stay clear of charter boats if I can for that reason. Doesn't benefit me being near them or them near me, vice versa. So changed wrecks, moved around, and on the last wreck of the day, we were staring down a really hard day, and the last wreck of the day, it suddenly went boom and it come alive. Tide picked up slightly, got a good drift, and we went from 3 fish to 18, and it was firing really well. Like, we were, first cut of drift was triple hookup, so we had 2 triple hookups. So 6 fish in 2 drifts, and we could have stayed on and maybe snuck 25-30 fish out of it, you know, but time was getting on, pushing on. We had to get across the lanes, so we were like, no, do you know what, we've had our bit of fun, and we're not just hammering it for no reason, so we get home in good time. And it was a lovely steam home, actually, to be fair, so that was good. Other than that, we're still dealing with the weather again, guys. It's the same. It sounds like a broken record, and everyone else does as well, but it really has been an horrendous 6 months. Back end of August last year, it just hasn't stopped. And as I'm filming this now with the sea behind me at Seaford Beach, it is blowing its absolute nuts off again. Water's all coloured up, it's horrible. And I like winter fishing. I am one of the few people that like winter fishing. Come winter time, for a lot of YouTube channels will just go silent, they go quiet, because either don't fish in the winter, they get their boats out and they do something else, or they just can't get out because their boats, you know, smaller boats or whatever. So a lot of channels go quiet, but I try to keep going where best I can. I've got these weekly roundups. I've been putting out a lot of slow jigging tutorials, and we've got more coming. the odd rod review. You know, some of my best content, or in terms of views, is from rod reviews and reel reviews, because people are actively searching the answers to questions. So if there's a gap in the market there, and I can literally help people make a buying decision off a recommendation or not a recommendation, as it may be, then I will do that, you know. And I only ever review stuff if I've given it a good workout. I'm not reviewing it for content. So I'm only reviewing stuff that I believe works or doesn't work, if that's what I'm going down the route of, and tell you not to buy something, because I do that as well. And then we're just trying to get those tutorials out there, you know. Slow jigging, big passion of mine. I think people who've been around long enough will know that now. And it is one of the most up-and-coming fishing methods in the UK. So people have got questions, and I'm going to try and answer them. So those are coming out, and we've got a bit on float fishing to come as well. Other than that, my poor little boy, so bit of personal details here now, but he was born premature, my youngest boy. He was born at 27 weeks, and he was 2.5 pounds. And he's had complications as a result of that all through his life, bless him. He's got autism, and he's got something called GDD, which is global development delay, I think it is. Basically, he's a bit slower than the average child. But he's now also he's always had problems with his bowels, and basically we think he might have to have some sort of operation on his bowels to get him working and stuff. So bless him, he's been in. And just a quick note as well, and she won't see this, but you know, hats off where it's due. His mum's been brilliant with him. She's been in there, and she's been really looking after him as well when I can't be there. And she really is taking up the slack on that. So thank you. But yeah, that's all been going on. Other than that, we're just trying to keep the videos going, trying to keep everything going. Like I said, these weekly chats, they're really good for me. I really enjoy them. The channel's growing loads as a result, and people are telling me they're enjoying them, so I will keep doing them. But, right, want to touch on something quickly. Well, nearly ended there, forgotten. Bass regulations, guys. A lot of misinformation out there, which is just bloody nuts. Excuse me, I started talking then and then absolutely coughed my guts up. So there's a little bounce on this clip. Normally I'm all the way straight through. Bass regulations, right. I'm going to say this as someone that does film their stuff and does put themselves out there on social media. There is a horrible, horrible thing with social media that people want to be the first to put out information, and they don't necessarily care whether it's correct. And that's been the case with these bass regulations. So they agreed that they're going to be doing 3 bass per angler and 3 pollock. That's been agreed, but it's not set in law yet. So what that means is until that is set in law, the old regulations apply. Now, we're currently in the February-March close season, which means no take regardless. But if that has not gone through, in terms of that law has not been made official and passed in the House of Commons and the rest of it, when the season opens up on the 1st of April, it will still be 2 bass and unlimited pollock. If that hasn't gone through, it will still be 2 bass, unlimited pollock. If they put that through, and when the season opens on the 1st of April, then it will revert to the free fish rule. Until that time, the current or old regulations still stand. Trouble is, people wanting to be the first to share stuff, they're sharing it and going, yes, free fish from April. It's not the case. If those rules don't change, then it's still 2. Just wanted to touch on that because it's been like Chinese whispers, social media. And I've even seen people have been catching a bass, and people have been going, oh, you're not allowed to catch bass, it's close season, you can't catch them. And this is on the bass fishing page, and people still don't understand the rules. It blows my mind. I don't know whether it's just armchair anglers who only go once a year, who don't bother to check the rules and just want to comment because they're in their sofa with a cup of tea and just want to put a comment out there, or what, I don't know. But yeah, just want to touch on that. Also as well, I put a post up about trawler discards the other day, and it's got a bit nuts, and again I haven't got around to replying to people yet because I've been busy, as I've highlighted. Now, this is something that I want to try and really make people aware of more, including the Angling Trust and other governing bodies, because we've got a close season now. We can't take any bass, and then we're going to be on either 2 or 3 fish, as I've already alluded to. But those trawlers, and they've got to earn a living, guys. They're commercial fishermen. They can't just not go to sea because there's no subsidies from the government to tie their boat up. They've still got to go to sea. Now, them bass are bloody everywhere. Whether you say they are or they aren't, or you haven't caught one, I'm sorry, those bass are absolutely everywhere. We had a trawler here last year, caught 7 ton, and he had to dump it all back. And unfortunately, he dumped it on an incoming tide at the mouth of the river, and the whole lot washed up the river. And the public were going around collecting boxes of it for themselves, you know. But 7 ton he caught, 1 trawler. Now, that's more bass than most of the anglers on the south coast are going to catch in a year. And he had to throw it back, discards. Now, that's going on all over the country in the south coast. And the pictures I shared up was 2 fish holes full of bass that went back dead. Now, that's a broken system. That is a broken system, because they're not allowed to land it to make any money from it. The commercial fishermen don't want to see it because they've spent 2-3 hours towing, and or 4 hours in some cases. They burnt the fuel. It then comes up dumped on deck. They then got to clear it all, and before they do that, they've got to fix their nets and shoot the nets back to start again. So by the time they do that, most of the fish on the deck is dead, and then they can't keep it anyway, so they're throwing it all back, and they're left with whatever they're left with after that. So they don't want to see the bass, guys. They don't want to see it. And everyone says, oh, they should tie their boats up. But they're not getting any money. They're not getting any subsidy. So they've got to pay their mortgages, their bills, put food on the table. Whether you are a commercial fisherman, pro or con or negative, whatever, it exists. Commercial fishing exists. And they've got to pay their wages. So they've got to go to sea. And it doesn't matter here whether you are 2 miles off or 10 miles off. There is bass everywhere out here, and you just cannot avoid it. And I've seen Regis Soundermore and whatever else, and yeah, there's things that could be done, maybe, perhaps, but it is a broken system, and I don't know what the answer is. I've sort of come up with half a suggestion that any bass that's caught like that should be allowed to be brought in and given to the rod and line anglers, perhaps, and then it comes off of their rod and line quota. So let's just say 3 ton of bass is caught by 1 trawler, then you could give a ton to 3 rod and line boats, and instead of getting 6.5 ton next year or whatever it is, or 10 ton, they'll only have 9, or basically they'll lose a ton of their quota. So at least that trawl caught fish is going to be not taken out of the system for no reason, because it will be gained back by what the rod and line can't catch. Another good example that was suggested was it gets brought in and sold for fish meal. So it gets rock bottom prices, but at least they get something, and it's not completely wasted. But I don't know what the answer is, but it's criminal, and I don't like to see it, and it's just horrible. But what's the point in us having a bag limit, 2-3 fish bag limit, and a close season, when they're going to be dumping tons and tons of bass every time they go out the river? Because the bass aren't winning. That fish is still coming out the stock. The only one that gains is the crab and the seals. So I don't know. That's the weekly roundup. Thanks for being here. All right, really enjoyed this one. I still do feel like death. Apologies. But thanks for watching. Hopefully we get some weather soon, and I will see you all again soon.